Hi, this is Tony with Smart and Special Teaching. In this video, I'm going to be talking about orthographic mapping, but I'm going to be talking about it in the context of activities that we can do with struggling students. Orthographic mapping is taking sounds and linking them with the symbols, the letters that go with those sounds. And for typically developing readers, this is a wonderful strategy for getting students to be more fluent with reading. However, I work almost exclusively with students with somewhat severe reading difficulties, with dyslexia, and some of them with severe dyslexia. And I have found that just doing orthographic mapping without making sure that they have that underlying phonemic proficiency and that letter sound proficiency. Proficiency means really having a deep understanding and automatic understanding of phonemes and graphemes. It is not enough to just do orthographic mapping. So I will explain briefly what orthographic mapping is, and then I'm going to take you directly into activities that you can do with students to really cement in those phonemic awareness, phonological awareness skills. That's what our students really, really need. And if you want to really understand orthographic mapping more fully and understand the single greatest cause of students not reading well, then I'll link the article that I wrote below, where I go more in-depthly on explaining how visual memory is not the greatest cause of dyslexia and what is. So I hope this video and the examples that I give you, the games that I give you, will be helpful, and that you can take them and use them in your classroom or in your homeschool, and that it will make a big difference for your students. And if you have any questions, always feel free to contact me and I will be happy to help you. So enjoy the rest of the video where I give you the examples of how to do this, and let's get going. So let's talk briefly about orthographic mapping. First, we have to understand that orthographic mapping is connecting phonemes with graphemes. A phoneme is a speech sound. There are approximately 44 sounds in English that we use in our writing system, and we call those phonemes. So if I wanted to map the phonemes in a word like shouted, I would use colored markers like this. Sh, ow, t, d, shouted. Those are our phonemes, our sounds. We have 5 sounds in the word shouted. We have to connect those sounds with the graphemes. A grapheme, the word graph means to write. So it's basically how we represent those sounds in English, because we don't have a word reading system in English like they do in Chinese, where you have a symbol to represent a word. These phonemes and graphemes, how we represent our words. So the graphemes that match up with these sounds is the next part that we would do. So a letter or group of letters that represent a phoneme, and we have approximately 89 graphemes in English. So we did sh, so we have sh. Sh is a digraph. It represents the sound sh. Ow. We have more than one way to represent the sound ow, but in this word we use OU, the vowel team OU, to represent ow, t, t, and now we have the suffix ed, and in this word ed is saying ed. So we're going to have shouted. Okay? And that is basically what orthographic mapping is. It is matching the sounds, the phonemes, with the graphemes, the corresponding letter or letters that represent those sounds. And that is what phonemic awareness is. And then I'm going to cover one other thing, and that is morphemes. I want to just quickly cover morphemes because they're so important. A morpheme is the smallest unit of sound, a unit of meaning in a word. So in a word like shouted, we have 2 units of meaning in this word. We have the base word shout and the meaning of it. And then we have the suffix ed, which has the meaning of in the past. So this word shouted has 2 morphemes. The base word shout, meaning to talk loudly, and the suffix ed, the vowel suffix ed, which means something that happened in the past. So morphemes are a very important part of being able to have students understand how words work. So now that we've covered what orthographic mapping is, basically, let's go into the most important part of setting students who struggle up to be successful. Not only do they have to do orthographic mapping, but they need to be fluent with those phonemes and graphemes. They have to be proficient with being able to recognize those graphemes, what they are and what sound is connected to them. They have to know it instantaneously, and they also need to be able to manipulate sounds within words. So you have to go beyond just segmenting words up into their sounds, but being able to mentally manipulate those sounds in words. And I will give you some great examples to use in your classroom, in your homeschool, in the next part of this video. When we're talking about orthographic mapping, at its most basic level, it's just mapping the sounds, the phonemes with the graphemes, the letters that represent those sounds. So if I wanted to orthographically map a word like hat, I would do, first I would have the student say hat, and then we would break it up into sounds, t. Then we would dot our word, saying the sounds, t. Now once I have broken that word up into, segmented that word into its sounds or its phonemes, then I would write the graphemes or the letters. And I would have them say H-A-T. What word? Hat. Now what if we wanted to talk about the morphology and say, what would it be if we wanted more than one hat? How would we say that? We would say hats. So we do h-a-t-s. So we add another phoneme, s. Hats. More than one hat. Okay? So if I wanted to orthographically map a word like hat, I would do, first I would have the student say hat, and then but for students who really struggle, this is not enough. They need more. And even students that don't struggle still would benefit from really focusing on more advanced phonemic awareness training, because it's often not enough just to be able to segment words into their sounds and map them with their letters, because students need fluency with phonemic and phonological awareness.
And fluency or proficiency means speed and some complexity, not just basic segmenting. So I'm going to show you some of that, and then we'll probably go back and do some more basic grapheme phoneme mapping. So another activity that you can do with your students is with one-syllable words. So we could say, okay, let's take I like to use these nice colored felts, but you could also use plastic, colored circles, you could use little blocks, you could use buttons of different colors, whatever you have handy, but they need to be different colors. So I'm going to put some colors here, and we're going to, let's just start with what we started with the other one. Let's do hat. So, hat. If this is hat, show me bat, bat. I'm going to change out my color. If this is bat, show me rat, rat. Okay, this is the beginning, rat. Okay, let's try another one. If this is rat, show me ram, If this is ram, show me rim, So being able to switch out those sounds. Here we're not working with the graphemes, although we could, but right now we're just working with those sounds, getting fluency with changing out sounds and talking about where those changes are occurring. Now if this is rim, now this is a more advanced skill. If this is rim, show me brim. So this is rim. So what if I want to make it brim? I have to add something to the beginning. Now this is brim. Brim. If this is brim, show me Brit. Brit. If this is Brit, show me brat. Brat. If this is brat, show me brats. 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 No, you may be saying my student isn't even ready for something as difficult as hats. They're still struggling with just one-on-one correspondence. Okay, can do that as well. So what do we do with that? Well, in all of my Orton Gillingham lessons, I give these kind of activities as the beginning level of every lesson. So what we do is we say, okay, I'm going to say a bunch of words, and I want you to tell me whether you hear that sound in the word or not. If you hear the sound, then you're going to write it. If you don't hear the sound, write a line. So if I'm working on the sound t, I might say table. Do you hear the sound t in table? Yes. Okay, so t. Okay, the next word is ball. Okay, do you hear the sound t in the word ball? No. The next word is touch. Do you hear the sound t in touch? Yes. So you can do activities like that. Or if your students are you want to work with two sounds, you could say, show me p, b. B. Great. You could do show me s, d. S, d. So those can be beginning phoneme graphing mapping. Just listening for those sounds, and when you hear it, write it. So that's really helpful for students. I think that writing and hearing and saying the sound all together through simultaneous processing is very helpful, especially for students who are struggling really hard to figure out how those sounds and the symbols connect to each other, doing that in a multisensory way. So when I have students work, I often have them write instead of using letter tiles, because it's that extra added multi-sensory push for them to be able to write, say, and hear the sound at the same time. Let's do another example of a more difficult phoneme graphing mapping. Let's do the word cage. K, A, J. I have three sounds. So I need to map those three sounds. So I'm going to do K, A, and I know that, or I should know, that English words don't end in J. So I'm going to write it this way, okay? Because I have to have one-to-one correspondence. Then we talk about what is the job of that silent E. The job of that silent E in this word has two jobs. The first job is to make that A say A. Its second job is to signal that this G is going to say J. So, cage. Okay? So, a lot of times people say, well, how do you map silent E? Some people do it this way, and some people might do it this way. They might do A, J, and then they might do A, and then they do a little tiny E, and then they might do it this way. But it doesn't really matter as long as you have that one-to-one correspondence and students understand those spelling generalizations as you're doing it. So this is another game that's really fantastic for phonemic awareness. You can do it with cups or any kind of container that you can't see through. So I'm going to build a word here in my cups. So I'm going to do the word dot. So actually, let me put them on the board here like this. So I'm going to do bat. Now, you could ask a student to do this, but the point of this game is to hide these. So we're going to do bat. Okay, this is bat. Touch and say b-at. Okay, the word is bat. Now, we're going to look for what's under the cup. Okay, can anybody tell me where to find the t? It's under the green cup. Does anybody know where the b is? The b is under the yellow cup. Who can tell me what letter is under the dark blue cup? It's A. What letter goes with A? A. Okay, that's one version of the game. Students could do this at a center. You could have pictures and they could build words, or they could just come up with words that they want to build and then ask another student where the letter is, under which cup. You can be more advanced with it. You could do something like, okay, this is bat. So what if we wanted to do bad? Okay, so this was bad. B-at. So what do we have to change this letter to make it be bad? Well, I have to switch out my letter. And I would put in this letter. Okay, so now I have bad. So where's the B? It's here. Where's the A? Here. What? And then you could have a student switch out a letter, and then the student would say, okay, I have bad. Now, close your eyes. I'm going to change one of the letters. Don't look. Right, it changed one of the letters. Now, this word, instead of bad, it says bed. What do you think is under the blue cup? Isn't it? So that's one of the things that you could do. If you have the word bad or bat, let's change it back to bat. Okay, what if I wanted to change and make a new word? I have bat. Now I want to make it say brat. What do I do to make this say brat? Well, I have b-at. I need to put another sound in here. So this was b-at. But I wanted to say brat. B-r-at. What letter will I need to put under the cup? And you can have the student, you could close your eyes and have the student put the letter under the cup. And then you could say, okay, let's see if you got the right letter under the cup. Now this is b-r-at, brat. What if I took away the b? Now what word do I have? R-at, rat. And we can look at it. Rat. Okay, now we can put it back. If we put it back, we have brat. What if I take out my R, my R here? Now I have, what word again? Bat. Now, I'm going to do something really tricky. I'm going to switch around this. So I had bat. B-at. Now I'm going to switch this around. Now what's here? T is here. T-a-b. So I have a new word. The new word is tab. So this kind of phoneme manipulation is extremely important for students that are struggling with reading. It's helpful for any student, but especially for those who are struggling with reading. Because otherwise, what happens is we just continually sound out words and put them back together again and then sound out the next. What we want is being able to quickly and fluently, automatically recognize letters with their sounds and being able to put them together fluently. And the best way to do that is to work with phonemes, the sounds, and being able to manipulate them. If you do this with your students, you will see a huge increase in their ability to fluently and more easily read words. I highly recommend that you do these kind of activities with your students and not just do this kind of activity. These kind of activities with orthographic mapping are huge. They're wonderful. But if you only do this and you have students that are really struggling, it will not be enough. You need to give them activities where they're working with those phonemes and moving them around and being able to really work with them. So I highly recommend these activities for your students. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I love to help people with students that are struggling readers.
For thinking with me through this video, and I hope that the activities that I showed you will be helpful to your struggling readers. If you would like any of the resources that were used during this video, the orthographic mapping templates, you will find them at my website, Smart and Special Teaching, in the free resource library. So come on over. Sign up for the free resource library. You'll find lots of activities for orthographic mapping, for phonemic awareness, and for reading. I also have a store on Teachers Pay Teachers where I have lots of resources, but the resources I used in today's video are all completely free. So come on over, and if you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below, or you can contact me directly. I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Smart and Special Teaching.